Welcome back on Live Weather Impact. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley here from WFMY in Greensboro, joined by Brittany Van Voorhees at WCNC in Charlotte. And today we have a special guest. Peter Forister is joining us. Peter is a storm chaser, a weather enthusiast, a fall color enthusiast, and a photographer extraordinaire. Peter, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
So we have a couple things we want to talk to you about today, Peter. I know we'll get to fall color at some point along the line. I know you work a lot with the guys over at Explore Fall, which is a great resource for folks to kind of see where the fall colors are happening and where they might want to go check everything out. But you've been working on a kind of an interesting project that we noticed on your social media pages, which is asking folks around the Southeast, what's the worst hurricane that you remember? Can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, this was a fun project that I initially started from seeing a map that was along the same lines from a graphic artist. And it was based off of purely meteorological data. And it was, I want to say, made in 2010. So it missed, the last decade and a half of really big storms that have come through the eastern US. And so I just put out a call for help on X, on my X account, and just started logging the counties where people said that, hey, this storm in my county in this year was the worst one that I remember, or the worst one that my parents remember. The idea was to do within about a generation. And so from these reports collected from social media, I started filling out this map of just individual counties across the United States and was able to fill in these swaths of what people remember as the worst storm in their own region. It's really interesting to see patterns in South and North Carolina stand out. Obviously, Helene, which is that orange color on the far left, made a big impact last year. And a lot of people are saying that's the worst, understandably so. But also Hugo from many years ago, stands out a lot to a lot of people. Fran, Floyd, Florence, a lot of F storms. And so this is not a data map in that it's accurate scientific data. It's more of just a social experiment and a subjective map to see what people remember.
Yeah, Peter, this is really cool. Social science is always very near and dear to my heart. I actually did my master's research on why people do and don't evacuate for hurricanes, so this is really interesting. I love also seeing all the different storm names because we know H's, like you mentioned, and F's are really, really big here. Have you been surprised by any of the responses that you've received? Because there is one name, and I'll wait till after you answer, but that does pop off on this list that does surprise me a little bit.
There were individual counties that surprised me, I think, and a few in the far northeast, which aren't on that graphic. But really, the Carolinas, I think it made a lot of sense to me. There's a more zoomed out view, but yeah, just a large combination of storms. There's Hurricane Angie's, which is a little bit further north. A lot of people remember that in New England and Northern Virginia. And then in the south, basically south of the North Carolina border, it becomes a jumbled mess of all these different storms going into Florida, going into the coastlines, et cetera. I would say maybe Opal, which I don't think had many direct North Carolina impacts, but that went on a swath up from Florida into the Atlanta metro. And that was actually pretty surprising to me because in my own consciousness, I don't remember too much conversation about that storm.
Yeah, the only one that surprised me, I was going to say, was Dorian, just because the storm stayed offshore and it was so annoying because it was offshore for so long. But I would think those areas in North Carolina on the eastern side would have had another storm that they would have thought was more intense. But I guess you can't argue with what people remember.
Yeah, I had a couple people from Dare County, which is Hatteras, south side of the Outer Banks, say that it was Dorian. I guess because of the surge impacts, because it was such a powerful Category 5 storm, it brought a lot of surge with it, even though it was mostly offshore, and that wind field really smoked Hatteras. So I expect that's why it stands out. Also, another one, Irene, just north of there in the Outer Banks. I always thought of Irene as this big New England storm that had catastrophic flooding in Vermont. But a lot of people said that because of the inland flooding on the inland side of the Sound from Irene, that actually stood out more to locals as opposed to something like Isabel, which would have impacted the more touristy side of the Outer Banks.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Yeah,
also
the
when you
Outer
have so
Banks
many
are so
storms,
interesting. Yeah, like you were saying, Brittany, they have so many storms out there. They're so vulnerable to both ocean flooding and sound side flooding that there can be so many impacts. But I think for most of our viewers watching maybe in the Charlotte area or the Triad area around here, I think this map makes a lot of sense. Hugo, Helene, Fran. There are a couple counties that I found interesting, though, that actually picked out Michael, which Hurricane Michael is the Cat 5 that went into the Florida Panhandle. But Michael had a really interesting history around here in 2018 when it ran right up. It was in October, by the way. It produced what we also call a sting jet, which is just kind of a localized area of 70 to 80 mile per hour gusts that knocked out in our region up here about 200,000 to 300,000 folks without power. So it was a different kind of a storm. It wasn't even purely tropical at that point. But it's interesting. I think it's nice that you have this social aspect now. And you would probably say this is a living map. So it would be good if maybe we could help you kind of get this out to more folks and you can get more responses to kind of crowdsource it. Because some of the blank counties could be filled in.
Absolutely. And I've changed a couple of these counties back and forth, especially on the fringes of the major storms. It's a subjective map. This isn't like some law that we're laying down. But yeah, the more feedback we can get, the better. And it's a super fun project.
Well, obviously, on
talk
top
about
of
leaves?
hurricanes, you also love fall. Fall color photography, explore fall, working with them. You're a fall weather fanatic. Tell us a little bit more about your work there and how you got into that.
So, that's a lot of questions.
Take your
I
time.
would say that my love of fall definitely started with just the photography side of things. I actually picked up photography because of the meteorology. I fell in love with storms and lightning and blizzards and that kind of thing. But then that grew into this love of everything natural, everything outdoors, and wanting to capture that. And so, for several years, I had actually been talking with Evan Fisher about this idea of this project that will bring together both meteorology and forecasting the fall and what that looks like. And it was a big question mark, but Evan Fisher was the brains behind the code and the model and a lot of the website stuff and putting all that together. But it's really fun to work alongside him and develop Explore Fall, which is our website that tracks the progression of fall colors across the country, and also bringing in the social side of things. I've been able to put together a system that brings in reports from all over the country and the places where the fall colors are changing and how quickly they're changing, what the quality of those colors are, and bring them into this map, this product that we can share with people like TV stations or just someone who's looking for a guide of what their house is going to be like in October. And so because of the meteorology, the model, all the hard work we put into that, but also the flexibility to be able to pull in those social reports, we think that this is a really unique product in terms of the tourism market and helping people in the fall. And so it's been a ton of fun to work on. This year for Explore Fall has just been so much fun to interact with all the people and watch the fall colors change. I will say that it's been a tough year for most of the East Coast. Most places east of the Mississippi River have been in pretty severe drought. And North Carolina is a haven. Actually, the quality of the colors in North Carolina have been really great over the past couple of weeks. So actually, your neck of the woods is where to be this year in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we had a professor from App State last week that I spoke to. His name is Dr. Howard Neufeld, and I know you guys had him on WCNC Plus and WFMY Plus. But yeah, he said the drought conditions were impacting a little bit. Like you could tell maybe some leaves were falling off, but there were so many great colors around that you almost didn't notice because it wasn't like a significant drop. So he said you might see some leaves on the ground, but other than that, the drought hasn't impacted too much, which was great to hear because I'm going leaf peeping this week. So. And I'm really excited.
Now's the time to do it. Peter, you're based up in Virginia, right? How are things looking up there this year for fall? And if people are going out, just amateur photographers like myself, do you have any tips for taking the best fall pictures?
Sure. So I'm currently based in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is right on the edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains here. So it's actually looking to be a pretty good year in the Blue Ridge, which is awesome, all the way up and down from Georgia into North Carolina, Tennessee, and then into Virginia. The Blue Ridge is where to be for the fall colors this year. I will say that further west and north of where I am, it's been a very bad year. West Virginia especially usually has vibrant, bright red maples and this wonderful hardwood forest. And unfortunately, it got put into severe or extreme drought in the last month or so. And so basically the leaves just turned brown and fell off. So fortunately, the Blue Ridge has better luck this year. And so going out to take fall photos, I would say that actually the bad forecast days, the days that are going to be a little bit rainy and a little bit cloudy, those are actually the days that you want to be out taking photos. I know that it's super nice to be out hiking out in the mountains when it's a blue sky and a crisp breeze, but actually that makes it much harder for photography. And so if you can get that nice overcast with a little bit of moisture on the leaves to make the colors pop, soft light so it won't be super harsh in the camera, that's actually how you're going to get the best fall photos. So watch the forecast and be okay with going on the days that it's going to be a little bit rainy, and you'll be in awesome shape, especially in North Carolina this year.
Cough, cough, Sunday. Cough, cough,
Exactly.
Sunday.
Of course, you might be blowing off the mountain this Sunday when we have that cold front swinging by with 50-mile-per-hour gusts up that way. But if you
At least your pictures will be good.
Get a good picture. Peter, we really appreciate your time sharing everything you had about the hurricane map and also the fall colors. And we hope the colors turn a little bit better up your way in Charlottesville for this season.
Appreciate y'all having me on. It's great. And good luck with your trips this upcoming weekend.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.